Counter-protesters soon confronted the group and violent conflict broke out. As elected officials of this university, I hope this just instructs me. This is not the way the Auburn family treats each other. We are brothers and sisters and should pride ourselves on uplifting one another and settling differences in academic settings such as this one. The fact that I'm still having to say that we will condemn violence, no matter the topic or issue in 2024, is embarrassing and disgusting. I would like to conclude by saying thank you to the Auburn City and Auburn Campus Police Departments for resolving this altercation, ensuring safety, and protecting the right to free speech. I would also like to thank the Auburn faculty for spending their Sunday afternoon cleaning graffiti off of our beautiful and historic campus.
Would anyone else like to utilize open forum at this time? All right, seeing none, we will move to the approval of the minutes. The minutes were sent out electronically last week. Are there any corrections that need to be made to the minutes? All right, seeing none, the minutes are now marked as approved and corrected, and we will move into reports for officers, beginning with the president.
Hey y'all, hope y'all had a great weekend. Let's see, so not much for me this week. So I had a shared governance meeting this morning with Dr. Woodard, Dr. Nathan, Dr. Roberts, Ms. Kelly Showmaker, and a few others with our governance groups. It was a great time getting to just kind of pass around information with our respective groups. And that's a meeting that if y'all have anything that y'all would like me to share with that group in the future, I would be more than happy to do that. Also, leading into that, I have a one-on-one with Dr. Woodard tomorrow. So if there's anything that y'all would like to share with me that I can share with him, or you can just go talk to him right after this, that works too. And then, so a little update on the Auburn app and class registration. Dr. Nathan has been working hard on this for students, and it's a really exciting thing. So basically next fall, it's going to roll out where students, a problem we've had going to Camp War Eagle is a lot of students are really worried about getting their class registration because they register at Camp War Eagle. So let's say you're going to Camp War Eagle session like 8, you're like, man, like I got to get my classes. Like it can be pretty stressful. So it's something that her team's been working on. And she's integrated into the Auburn app where you're going to be able to register for classes on the Auburn app as soon as you get to Camp War Eagle. And another layer to that is there's going to be a built-in schedule for your needs, like ingrained into your schedule before you even go to register for classes. So basically, you already have your classes. It's just you can kind of fine-tune them when you're at Camp War Eagle. Be like, okay, my classes are all in, but I really don't want a class at 12, so I'm going to move this one to this day. So it's really exciting because that means that worry of I'm not going to get my classes or I'm not going to get my classes at the right time, that really kind of takes care of that and also adds another layer to the Auburn app. So it's really exciting development and really pumped for our freshman classes coming in. So that's all I got. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Jack. Now a report from the treasurer.
Hey guys, hope you all had a good week.
Excuse me.
So in SGA with our financial projects team, we are still working towards financial guidance counselors. Had a meeting last week with the business schools council's president. Went well, and so just seeing how that'll go. Something's not up there. Ring night is December 5th, so if you got a ring, that'll be that night. And hope you all have a grateful break. Thank you all.
Thanks, Will. Now a report from our EVP of Outreach, which George couldn't be here tonight, but in his place, the Heyday is next Wednesday, which is very exciting. I hope that a lot of y'all have signed up to volunteer, and be sure that you attend your volunteer session beforehand. Campus Roundtable occurred last week. Thanks so much to Phaedra and her team. We appreciate your hard work on that event, and thank you to Dr. Woodard for being in attendance. And then also next week, we will also be having the last voter registration drive that will be put on by the Civic Engagement Team in Calumet, so please be present for that as well. All right, now we're going to move into a report from our Executive Chief of Staff.
Okay, so last week we had our first forum meeting, which was so fun. And then retreat was yesterday, and that team has seriously been working so hard, and the 57 of them are so awesome. So we're really excited about that. And also mentees for forum will be coming in the next few weeks. So I think there might be 5 Senate mentees, if I'm correct. So some of y'all will be paired with a freshman that y'all can kind of show. They'll come to Senate meetings and you can kind of show like the ropes and all the things. And then BBIMA food drive competition. So if y'all didn't see, kickoff was on Friday of last week. So we're gonna have a little competition between each and all of the branches in cabinet and then Senate. To see who can bring the most cans. So those are going to be due on the 28th, which is our Halloween cabinet. So we'll be sending reminders and all the things for that. But you'll get a prize at the end. Prize to be determined, but it'll be fun. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Forrest Dan. Now report to EVP of Initiatives.
Hey y'all, hope y'all had a great week despite that loss. So student center updates for y'all. The Traditions wall will be complete by the end of this month, which is super exciting. The surround of the video wall is going in soon. Business center construction is beginning following finals, and implementing wayfinding inside the student center. So like Google Earth, they'll have wayfinding within the student center, which is super cool. So tomorrow, we're meeting with Dr. Hahn to discuss the MCAT prep course and just talk through that. We'll let y'all know what goes on there. Athletics meeting last week brought y'all's feedback up about the first aid stations as well as the locker room club, so just talking through all that. Then safety walk, definitely want as many of y'all there as possible, and we'll be sending out details on that as soon as we get them. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Thomas. That concludes officer reports for tonight, so we are going to move into reports from our standing committees, beginning with academic affairs.
Marino Education, hey y'all, hope you had an awesome weekend. A couple things from academic affairs. Emma met with the CATC dean, so they're kind of working on like goals and building up committees for their college, which is super awesome. Timmy, she's not here tonight, but she wanted me to kind of utilize my time to reach out to all of y'all. She's kind of setting up a grad school, kind of schools fair. This is a way to kind of promote like Auburn undergrad students to enroll in their graduate programs, just kind of increase our graduate student population. So if you are a senator and y'all have a graduate program here at Auburn, I kindly encourage y'all to volunteer for that schools fair event. The date is still to be determined, so just email Timmy, or I think she might have sent an email out to most of us, or all of us. So I highly encourage y'all to volunteer because she's worked so hard to get everyone together to agree to have all of these events. They should last about 1 to 2 hours, so not a huge time commitment at all. So yeah, I highly encourage y'all to do that. Reed is drafting a resolution for the request of the AI statement being required in all syllabi. So if you have any feedback with that or have any opinions on that, be sure to reach out to Reed or me if you want to know more about that at all. And then that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Sophie. Now report from budget and finance.
Admin business, no board.
Thanks, Carter. Warrior. Now report from the code of laws.
Lady CoSam, we have a couple bills coming across tonight as current orders of business, so we'll be looking at those in just a little bit. We also have one future order of business tonight. Other than that, Madeline met with Dr. K about the scientific supply store this past week. Went very well. They're talking about how to reduce wait times and improve awareness to freshmen about how to actually get supplies to be prepared for their labs. Hope y'all have a great week. If you need anything, just let me know. Thanks.
Thanks, Houston. Now report from DEI.
Engineering, and I hope everybody had a great weekend and a wonderful week. So a couple things from DEI. As you guys know, we are officially changing the name to Access, Engagement, and Opportunity, given that the bill passes on the floor tonight. Some projects that we're currently working on, we're still looking into underrepresented student populations and kind of looking at what that looks like not only at Auburn but also across the SEC. And then we're also currently still working on the clothing closet initiative, and so looking forward to touching back. Thank you.
Thanks, Keisha. Now report from student affairs.
Jones at large. Hey, I want to start things off by taking any feedback from the new Ink Tacos place downstairs. Yes.
Amazing. I think it's okay. So sorry. Best bang for your buck on campus is my number one actual thing. The portions are a little bit small, but you are only paying like $10. I got a burrito and chips for like $9.88 or something like that. So it's also really good. So I recommend it.
So like, I tried to order on Grubhub the other day, and there's just like not a lot of customization options, like specifically for the burrito. Like, they can eat, and then like that's it. The rest is just on there. You can't change anything. So probably just like more customization. I don't like pieces so much.
Anyone else have anything? No? Yeah.
I've had it like 3 or 4 times. I really like Chipotle and it's close I can get. It's really good. I just wish there was like a little bit more. If there was like an option to like double the meat or double the block, like
So you need more like portion size.
yeah.
Okay. Quick show of hands, like who's been? Okay, cool. All right, appreciate that feedback. We'll make sure to bring that up to the people who need to hear it. And outside of that, Buck had a meeting today with Eric over at the rec. So stay tuned for some stuff that's going to come out of that. We're going to have some fun with them working on a couple things. And then I have a meeting with Dr. Cam as well as some of our cabinet counterparts tomorrow. If you have anything you'd like to bring up, please let me know. Outside of that, let me know if you need anything. Regal.
Thanks, Vince. Now report from the executive committee.
Zellner at large. Okay, I'm gonna go through attendance real quick. Senator Zyrie. Here. Senator Urban. Here. Senator King.
Here.
Senator Nettles.
Here.
Senator Lord.
Here.
Senator Cole.
Here.
Senator Fay.
Here.
Senator Hopkins. Senator Inman.
Here.
Senator Hale.
Here.
Senator Scott.
Here.
Senator Norris.
Here.
Senator Sipple. Senator Laney.
Here.
Senator Crawford.
Here.
Senator Smith.
Here.
Senator Connor.
Here.
Senator Yon.
Here.
Senator Parton.
Here.
Senator Poole.
Here.
Senator Troutman.
Here.
Senator Massey.
Here.
Senator Hilliard.
Here.
Senator Jones. Senator McGruder.
Here.
Senator Burgess.
Here.
Senator Peter. Senator Parrish. Senator Stratfall. Senator Marino.
Present.
And Senator Federico. Awesome, thank y'all. Okay, so make sure you are doing your office hours and that the beginning, the open forum is your feedback time if you want to let anybody know. Thank y'all.
Thanks, Emma Francis. Now we are going to move into reports from our liaisons, beginning with the Honors Congress.
Ashley Honors Congress, just 2 things from me. First, next Monday will be Honors Congress's monthly family dinner on the back porch of Cater at 6 p.m. And then this Tuesday, the Honors College will be hosting its 2nd informational session on its 6 upcoming study and travel opportunities for spring 2025, with an additional sneak peek about what's upcoming for the 25 to 26 school year.
Thanks, Victoria. Now a report from BSU.
Hawkins, BSU, their report.
Thanks, Donna. Now a report from ISO. Thanks, Kira. All right, that takes us into current orders of business, of which we have 2 tonight. The first is PSSB 24093001, brought to you by Senators Laney and Peter.
Laney COSAM asked for approval of the following: striking all instances of diversity, equity, and inclusion from the Code of Laws, adding access, engagement, opportunity, and then just a few syntax changes as well. Move to pass this bill as written.
It's been moved to pass this bill as written. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate? Seeing no debate, we will move into a vote on canvas. anyone experiencing any technical difficulties? Awesome. All right, the ayes have it, and this bill has been adopted and will be reflected in the PowerPoint next week in both
Whereas the Olympic Games is an international multi-sport event where the premier athletes of each nation compete in a celebration of dedication and unity, and whereas the Olympic Games take place once every 4 years, and the games of the 33rd Olympiad took place during the summer of 2024 in Paris, France, and whereas 11 current or former Auburn University athletes competed in the 2024 Olympic Games representing 10 different countries in 6 different sports, and whereas Kenyanzola Ajayi, member of the Auburn University track and field team, represented Nigeria in the 100-meter dash and the 4x100-meter relay, qualifying for the semifinals with the fastest time in his heat, and whereas Favor Ash, member of the Auburn University track and field team, represented Nigeria in the 100-meter dash and the 4x100-meter relay, placing 6th in the semifinals, and whereas Makanakashe Chiramba, member of the Auburn University track and field team, represented Zimbabwe in the 200-meter dash, finishing 8th in the world, and whereas Marcelo Charigani swam for Brazil in the 4x100 freestyle relay as his team finished 10th in the world, and whereas Azim Fahmy, member of the Auburn University track and field team, represented Malaysia in the 100-meter dash, and whereas Emily Halifax, an incoming first year at the time of the games and current member of the Auburn University swim and dive team, represented France in women's synchronized diving, finishing 8th in the world, and whereas Sunisa Lee represented the United States of America in women's gymnastics, competed in the team, all-around, uneven bars, beam, and floor events, securing a gold medal in the team competition and further distinguishing herself by earning a bronze in the uneven bars and all-around categories, and whereas Tim Poitz represented Germany, reaching the men's tennis double quarterfinals, and whereas Valerie Tarazi represented Palestine in the women's swimming 200 individual medley, and whereas Donald Thomas, appearing in his 5th Olympic Games, competed in the high jump while representing the Bahamas, and whereas JT Thor helped lead the South Sudan Bright Stars to their historic first ever appearance in men's basketball. Therefore, let it be resolved that we, the Auburn University Student Senate, commend these current and former Auburn athletes for their inspiring ability, steadfast commitment, and humble willingness to represent the university on the international stage. And therefore, let it further be resolved that we, the Auburn University Student Senate, commend these athletes for embodying our creed, particularly the line, I believe in a sound mind, in a sound body, in a spirit that is not afraid, and in clean sports that develop these qualities. CC Kanyanzola Ajayi, Favor Ash, Makanakashe Chiramba, Marcelo Chirigini, Azim Fahmy, Emily Halifax, Sunisa Lee, Tim Poitz, Valerie Tarazi, Donald Thomas, JT Thor, Rhett Hobart, Deputy Athletics Director for External Affairs, John Kahn, Auburn University Athletics Director, Dr. Bobby Woodard, Senior Vice President for Student Affairs, and Dr. Chris Roberts, Auburn University President. I move to pass this bill as written.
It's been moved to pass this commendation as written. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any debate? Seeing no debate, we will move into a vote on canvas. Is anyone experiencing any technical difficulties? All right, well, then we'll take the votes that we had. The ayes have it, and this commendation has been approved, which is incredible. We are so excited to celebrate the student athletes, and we have been joined by Dr. Woodard, Senior Vice President for Student Affairs, as well as Executive Associate Athletic Director Janine Paul. So we're really excited that they are here with us tonight, as well as another very special visitor. Drum roll. commendation to the athletics department and take a group picture of Student Senate with Avi. So y'all can come on up to the front.
Careful. Thank you, Avi.
More time for our first commendation. Thanks for being here, Avi. Feel free to come to Senate anytime. All right, guys, that's it for our current orders of the evening. So we are going to move on to future orders of business. The first is PSSB 2410-0701, brought to you by Senator Edmund.
In the business, I asked for the approval of following the allocation of $1,100 from the reserve fund to the line item titled Outreach Project of the Student Government Association budget. This would cover the catering cost of the campus roundtable event that SGA held on September 30th.
Are there any questions on this future order? All right, seeing none, we will move on to our next future order of business, which is PSSB 2410-0702, brought to you by Senator Yon.
Liberal Arts. I ask for approval of the following, replacing anytime in the instant runoff section of the code, the executive officers mentioned, and changing it to major candidate. We're also adding an or position. And so to give y'all some context, I put at the bottom the section of the code that describes the difference between executive officers and major candidates. So So what this bill would do is create some consistency in our election process. What we would do is all major candidates, which would be president, vice president, treasurer, Miss Homecoming, and Miss Auburn, would be elected the same. So the way we do it now is the executive officers, so Jack, Kara, and Will, they're all elected with ranked choice, and then we, for some reason, we kind of don't elect Miss Homecoming and Miss Auburn the same way. So just be making some consistency in that process. So I know some people have some questions about how the system of ranked choice voting works at all. So we actually looked at the major candidate orientation because it does explain in there. So if we could pull that up and I'll try to go through it just to make sure everyone's on the same page. So the way it works in ranked choice is the same as any other electoral system. If you do get 50% of the vote, you're the winner. The issue with doing that with Miss Auburn and Miss Homecoming is there's always going to be 5 candidates. So it's really unlikely that someone's going to win 50% of the vote on the first go-around. So what we would do, and what the effect of this system is you make a more well-liked candidate from around the campus, so that it's not just 20% of the campus really excited their candidate won. Rather, the majority of campus feels like they had a say. So I think the next slide will kind of explain a little better. So let's say these were the 5 candidates for Miss Auburn. In a regular system, Aubie would win, of course, and they only receive, or Aubie only received 29% of the vote. So for that, 70% of the campus didn't actually end up voting for Aubie. But in a ranked choice system, what would happen is you could rank all of your 5 candidates in order of preference, and the person that gets the last number of votes, what happens is their vote now goes to whoever they put second. So I think the next slide. So yeah, I think well, there was Aurora, that was the Eagle. So let's say the Eagle got last. Whoever put the Eagle first, all of their votes would go to their second option. And so this would continue to happen until someone got 50% of the vote. And so the whole idea is that there's more of a candidate, whoever wins, appeal to the majority of candidates. That's why we use it for our presidential election, our vice president, our treasurer election, but we haven't used it for our Miss Homecoming, Miss Auburn. I won't get too into like arguing for or against the system just because it is future order. I know that we kind of saved the debate for next week. I just wanted to explain the system. I can pull up a video next week that explains it a little bit better than I just did, but does anyone have any questions? This is kind of a demonstration we're going through right now.
What's kind of motivation for writing up this bill for the change?
Yeah, and so Jack actually approached me about it. He said this was like an interesting thing that I know everyone's really interested in code laws, and so obviously I was interested in making something more consistent with our electoral system. I actually am taking a class in comparative politics, and we're learning about how different systems of government work. And the first chapter was democracies, and so not all democracies use the same systems. And we actually learned about how ranked choice voting is better to create a candidate that the majority of the people that voted feel comfortable with and are happy with. And so that was one of the main motivations, making a system where instead of just usually 22% of the campus being really happy that they're one person that they voted won, we have a better feeling after the elections. Miss Auburn and Miss Homecoming, to me, are all about positivity and bringing people together. So I think this change would really reflect that. And so that was kind of the motivation, kind of understanding why we didn't do it in the first place, is making it consistent among all major candidates. But we can talk about kind of the pros and cons next week. But does that make sense?
Are you scared?
Make sure you say your last name and college.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. In business, are you scared about people abusing it, really got it? Because I feel like if you've got one person that you're going to vote for, and there's someone else that you think is also pretty close, you're just going to put them in 5 just because you still like that person, but you want the person that you want really bad. You put them at 1 and the other person at 5.
Right. So the way our elections work, you're not required to rank all the choices. So when you go in there, you do not have to go in and put 5 in order to vote. So
would it not benefit the person that you're putting at 1 to rank everybody at 5, and then the person at 5 who you think has a good chance of possibly beating the person you put at 1?
Yeah, so the only reason that you would rank someone after your person is if you believe there's a chance they would lose. So your votes only get counted for 2, 3, 4, 5 if your candidate got the bottom number of votes. Does that make sense? So let's say, you know, there's a really competitive race and there's 2 girls for Miss Auburn that, you know, have a really good chance of winning. The likelihood is that neither of those candidates are going to ever have their ballots go to this part where their second or third choice would get picked. Does that make sense? Because they're going to be more competitive. So you only get your second and third and fourth choice as your vote if your number 1 choice has the least amount of votes from the rest of the candidate pool. Does that make? I know we're getting a little complex.
Could you also have the person who gets as many 1 votes also get as much 5 votes? You see what I'm
So you're saying that a lot of people would vote them as their number 1 option,
Yeah.
but everyone else vote them as their last option?
Yeah, but the majority put them as number 1,
So if the majority put them as number 1, they win.
then they win.
It's whoever, it's all about getting to 50% plus 1 vote, right? And so if there's 5 candidates from Miss Auburn, and someone goes out there and wins 50% of the vote on the first try, they should run for like national office first. That's really impressive. But they would win. So it only takes into account usually like probably 1 or 2 times this was going to happen where the lowest person in the vote count didn't, obviously they lost, so all their votes go to the second person. So
There's no way it can be abused.
I mean, you can try to get people to vote for the person that you think is your biggest competition last, but you could, but it really wouldn't help you in my eyes, because if you think about it, if you're going to such lengths to do all that kind of stuff to try to abuse the system, you probably think that you have a good chance, right? And so you're not expecting to be like last on the list, or your votes only go to your second place if you are last. So at that point, does that make sense? Like,
Somewhat. Okay.
Czar of Education, I've heard so sometimes if you run a 1 through 5, you just pick 1, that's how a race goes. If you rank it, the race turns out completely different. How do you feel about that? Because that does happen.
what generally happens if the race changes from if you just did normally versus ranked choice is that the ranked choice option was more of in real life politics, when I talk about that class, they talk about it being like a moderate candidate. They appeal to more of the base, the middle, because you have to have people vote second. You as their second option for you to have a good chance in a system like this. So in the terms of Auburn, this isn't politics, this isn't right or left. This is just people presenting platforms about positive things on campus. So whoever does that the most effectively and also interacts with the other campaigns really well, they're well liked in general, but maybe they don't have like the biggest backing, they're gonna succeed in the system because people are gonna put them second or third. They might not put them as number 1, but when it goes down and the next ballot is counted, they're gonna get more votes because people put them second, which to me is a good thing because those girls running for Miss Auburn, Miss Homecoming, that interacted well with everyone on campus, everyone liked them. That's what it's all about to me, is that we're trying to get a good, positive candidate that the majority of campus feels really good about and wants to represent them on the football field at halftime or in the office of Miss Auburn. I don't know, do I call him or do you call him? I can't really hear.
Senator Marino.
Marina Education, so primarily focusing on like if you rank a candidate like 5th. So I guess my question is, how are we going to educate the entire student population, like even reaching out to the student body that tends to not vote? Like we have about like roughly a 30% voter population. How are we going to reach out to that student body and educate them that their their first choice might be that 5th candidate? And with that being said, if they're, I'm trying to ask this politely. If they, sorry, not politely, you know what I mean. But if they put their vote first as a first, like candidate A, but if candidate A gets 5th, then like this ranked choice system is saying, their vote can be diluted into those other 4 candidates. In that sense, I fear that the student who's voting for that candidate that got 5th, I feel like their vote is not going to matter. They're going to feel like that their vote doesn't really matter. Matter in the runoff.
So when you voted I won't ask you who you voted for Miss Homecoming, that's you though. But let's say you voted for one of the 4 girls that lost. Did your vote not count? Because that's my question to you. Like, the way we do it now, when you vote and that person loses, your vote goes nowhere. But if you had the option, and I'll get back to the beginning of the question in a second, but if you had the option to rank all of them and your vote actually has a chance to impact the race, I think that does the opposite of kind of what you're saying, that people will feel more empowered. Now, on the idea that people maybe not won't understand it, we've been doing this for our executive officer positions for a long time, and I think the students have done really well with it. It's pretty intuitive. You just put them 1 through 5. They have resources on the website. There's been videos sent out. The major candidates, obviously, this is the orientation they get on it, so more campus understands. I think the Auburn students understand how to rank like 1 through 5, and especially in a race like Miss Auburn, Miss Homecoming, where there's really passionate supporters, they're gonna make sure that the people that are voting understand that. But back to the point about people feeling like empowered with their vote, I think this really would give people a chance to say, well, my girl didn't win, but my second choice did. Let's say the person I voted for this year didn't win. There is no second choice. I had no say in who won after that. So did I answer your question? There's a couple parts to it. Did I get to all of them?
Partially, yeah.
All right.
So, John, where's your real life environment? I was gonna say, I know I'm trying to keep it limited, but originally I was against it because of the popular vote. And then after talking to Deidre today and kind of looking into the actual process more, is I support it now because I think it would make campaigns more meaningful and make the candidate have to seem more appealing to get a majority vote versus because the average student that's not involved in Greek life walking through the concourse, whoever has that first table spot on the corner is there going
Senator Drummond, I'm so sorry to stop you. Do you have a question? Okay, we're going to save that for debate next week if that's okay with you. Does anyone else have any questions on this future order? Yes, Senator Zellner.
Sorry, Zellner at large. Just a clarifying question. This PowerPoint shows Aubie started out as having 29, like at the very beginning, he had the most votes. So he would have won in the system that we're arguing.
Right.
Is there a way that Jamie gets the remainder of the votes bumped to her and she becomes?
So like in a ranked choice system, the
Yes,
person who
yeah.
doesn't get
Yes.
the most votes in the first round.
Switch up?
Yes, and so the idea behind that is that if a candidate has, let's say, a large base and they only talk about issues relating to that person's base, right? And just in general of how the system works, they're going to get a lot of votes in the first round when there's that many candidates. But if they didn't appeal to the rest of campus or the rest of the voting population, they might end up losing the rest because you have to, like I said earlier, you have to have people rank you second. You have to have, in the system, you need people to be okay with you winning and want you to win, even if their person doesn't.
So our third place person could be Miss Aubie.
So it's not the third place person. So I know that
In
the third place in the first ballot, technically yes, but they didn't get a majority vote. So if there was 4 people running for SGA president and the first person, that's how it is already now. And so we can make that argument against ranked choice voting for our executive officers and say, well, Aubie, in the first ballot, he got the plurality, the most votes, but ended up not appealing to the rest of the campus in how the system worked. He didn't win. And so I understand that that's kind of concerning to people. I get where that comes from, the sense of democracy that whoever gets the most votes win. And just to reassure you, I really had that view when I first heard about this system a long time ago, learning about it in political science classes. But when you look into it, it really is about finding the best way it is to get to 50%. The person who's going to win is always going to have 50% of the vote. It just won't be a traditional sense that you maybe are used to. But it is, in my sense, my view, more democratic because it appeals to more of the campus and appeals to more of the voters.
Yes, Senator Mills.
Jones at large, I have 2 questions. First off, do you know why we currently do not do ranked choice voting?
That's a great question. So I've heard some contrasting things. I talked to Jamie today. Apparently we used to do it for Miss Auburn, Miss Homecoming, I'm not sure on the years on that. It was before she got here, so I could, it's kind of past the collective memory we have in this room. But I think what I've heard, it really is kind of offhand, is that it got maybe a little too confusing for a couple of races. There was one race that they tried it, and for some reason the students understood they understood how it worked for the executive officers, so like president, vice president, treasurer, but they didn't really get it for Miss Auburn or Miss Homecoming, which I didn't really understand. I think that was more of a feature of what the electronic system looked like when you went to vote. And then there was some talk that people were like emotional with the idea of ranking someone in a certain order or something like that. I really don't know. That's the only answer I have for you. I truthfully don't think that's the real reason we do it. I think it just kind of didn't happen whenever we changed the code. That's the only thing that I've heard, and it's really a small thing.
So to follow that up, would that be a change that was made in Senate one year or made by administrator? Do we know?
That's another good question. We can find that. Yeah, I'll definitely look into that. It shouldn't have been made by administrator because it's the code, but
I'm not gonna make an assumption here, but I can say with some level of certainty that kind of change to the students and elections, I don't think that would have been made just like by staff. That will always lie with y'all, like your voice will always be in this room. Again, I'm not gonna make a guarantee on that, but we can dig, I can find out, I can try to find out what year that happened and why it happened, maybe we can find some Senate minutes on that. But I have some doubt that was just made without your feedback. We can find out like concrete reason for next week though.
And then one other question, since we do this for like president, vice president, treasurer, is there any like data or like if you looked into it, I know like treasurer for instance was sent to an instant runoff of like how many people like truly did rank their choices, and so like how many votes were gained like in overall by both candidates by that second choice.
well, I can tell you, I don't know the exact number on that, but I can tell you that there had to have been students rank because so it was 3 people for treasurer, right? If you eliminate the third option and no one that voted ranked, then the election goes nowhere because the first 2 people still don't have 50%. No one got 50%, that's why it went to an instant runoff. So there has to be people that rank, and they do, so it proves that there was enough people that ranked that their votes went somewhere else, if that makes sense. It went to the first, second, or the first bill, and the other.
Okay, another question on that. If no one had ranked and they tossed out all their votes, is like the voter pool then the top 2 people votes only for the first 2 people? So for instance, like Will last year won. He didn't have 50% after the start. And they figure out last place, and it's only him in second place votes. If he has 50% of like just those 2 numbers, and no one else ranked, is he then treasurer or that's out?
That's a really good hypothetical. To be honest with you, I can't see a world just based on how these systems have worked in real life outside of like college politics and SGA that given the option, enough students would not rank or 0 students would rank. I really don't know. That's just like a weird hypothetical, and especially in an election system that we have now, there's always 5 Miss Auburn candidates and there's always 5 Miss Homecoming candidates. It would be statistically like extremely improbable for the idea that there's 0 people that rank and they all just put their one girl.
But that's my question is like, is it then 50% out of the new voting pool of like just those 2? So
okay, so yes, I see what you're saying. I guess it would be yes. So if you decide not to rank and you say, my vote is for Aubrey, I don't want anyone else to have my vote unless Aubrey wins, and Aubrey loses in the first thing, your vote doesn't go anywhere because you decided not to rank. If you decide to rank, which is like the future of the system, then your vote will go somewhere. But that's kind of how it is already. I see what you're saying now.
Like in this example, like Maria doesn't get, or her votes go away,
right?
And it's just I can't do the math. Whatever that total number is for the top 4 candidates, is it going to be 50% of that number? Like what's that? 650.
Yes, I would. I guess it would be whoever. So there's 220 people that voted for Aurora. However, many of those people ranked goes into the new number. So there's now a new total of votes.
Okay, that's my question.
There's now a new total of votes. So there was some. The last 2 years ago, we had treasurer, and the people were a little confused about why the percentage doesn't add up. Because not everyone does rank, but a good chunk of students. Okay. Sorry, that was a little roundabout way to explain. Does that make more sense? If everyone couldn't hear, basically, if there's 5 is cut, there's basically a new total of votes, if that makes sense. And so you have to get 50% from that new number.
Senator Inman.
Thank you. In the business, just last question, just clarifying. So the executive officer, the president, the vice president, and the treasurer, compared to the mayor candidate, which we just had, Ms. Auburn, Ms. Auburn is guaranteed at least 5 people in the race, top 5, right? The
Right.
other 3 could just have 1 or 2 people.
Right, so that's why like not every, like we didn't have ranked choice if there's only gonna be 2 people, because you will get a majority, because there's only 2 people in the race. But yes, all this would do is change it from executive officer, which is 3 positions, to major candidates, which is 5, adding in Ms. Auburn and Ms. Humphrey.
Are there any other questions? Yes, Senator Syrick.
Center for Education. Last question. I did some research while sitting here and looks back until the 2020 spring elections and elections where there were more than 3 or more candidates. The one who had the most number of votes, even after the runoff, ended up winning. Do you feel like it's necessary to change it if it's going to be the same results regardless?
It's not always gonna be the same results. But at the end of the day, let's say majority of the time it could be, and it probably will be, to be honest with you. What this does, at the bare minimum, is when you look at the results, it says Miss Auburn, 50%. So that looks a lot better on paper and feels a lot better to read for a large part of the population here, to say 50% of the campus voted for this person in some way, rather than looking at Miss Homecoming elections now, and I don't know what percentage the Miss Homecoming won this year, but it was probably around 22%, around that, maybe a little bit more.
26.
All right, good. So 1 in 4 people voted for Miss Homecoming rather than 1 in 2 people, if that makes sense.
Are there any other questions on this future order? All right, and that concludes our future orders for tonight, and I will move into my announcements. First of all, I hope you all have a wonderful, safe, and enjoyable fall break to begin with. Please be sure to represent the Student Senate well as you go on all of your trips and all of your adventures, as well as you're on campus. And I know that we're headed toward an election season, and I just encourage you all to be a integrity-filled representative of the student body as you go about your respective positions. Also, as we move into the month of November and continue into the following weeks, please be sure you are working on minor candidate recruitment and looking out for those students who have enormous leadership potential and who could potentially be a member of the Student Senate next year. Please share what you do with them and encourage them to be a part of SGA in general, but most especially run for Senate or run for Executive Student Council. And with that, this meeting is